Hi, Julie. Thank you so much for joining me for the podcast today. And to those who don't know you, it would be amazing if you could introduce you.
Lisa, thank you so much for having me on your show. I'm really delighted to be here. So I'm Julie Parker. I'm the CEO and founder of the Beautiful You Coaching Academy, and we train heart-centered and amazing people from all over the world how to become life coaches. And I absolutely love that work, and I'm very passionate about it. And I feel very honored to have trained you as one of our most wonderful and successful coaches, especially based out of Europe, where you are. I'm also a modern day priestess, and I'm very devoted to the exploration of women's spirituality and sacred leadership. And I love it that those two things are both different, but also very connected as well. So that's me.
Yeah, that's amazing, because I think you're one of the biggest schools out there to become a life coach. And I really loved your program, and I think it's amazing that you do both, so that you have the combination of like combining kind of two jobs. And I think sometimes maybe was it hard for you at the beginning to handle both, where there's like stressful times? Because many of those who hear the podcast, they have a business, or they have a business and they're just starting out and they have a family. And I get so many questions of people. How do you like keep sane if you have two jobs, for example?
Yeah. Look, this is a really great question, and I'm not necessarily going to sit here and recommend that everyone necessarily have two quite separate streams to their business. I think if you're a very multi-passionate, multi-potentialite person, it is actually really energizing for you, as it is for me. But for other people, they may actually benefit a great deal more from simply focusing on one particular thing. And I don't think you can necessarily know that until you maybe, try both. But it's important for me to share with everyone, Lisa, that for a long time, I didn't really do my priestessing and women's spirituality work in a more public business-like way. That was something that was very much my personal and sacred practice. It was the academy and training people to become life coaches that was very much my focus. But then what began to happen was that area of spirituality for me became more and more important. I started writing about it more, sharing about it more. I started the Priestess podcast, and the natural result of that was that people wanted to connect with me more around that in paid offerings. And I have a book coming out about that as well, about priestessing, the ancient and modern priestess. And so it's really sort of evolved, and it's not always easy to balance the two. I'm not going to lie and say that it is easy, because I think that is a lie to say that. Sometimes it feels really stretchy and challenging. But at the same time, I love both so much that I find ways to make them work. And also because I think it's very, very important to mention these things, Lisa, so that nobody gets a false impression around what is possible for one person to do. It's really important for me to let your listeners know I have help. I have a wonderful team of people that help me to bring my businesses and work into the world. I do not do it all by myself. And I think that that's a very, very important thing to mention, because far too often all we see is just the surface of what a business looks like on Instagram, or a glossy website with a fancy photo shoot, and we're looking our best and all that sort of stuff, without actually thinking about the reality behind it. And so I'm very blessed and grateful to have many people who support me with that. I don't do it alone.
Yeah, I think that's one of the most important things, to actually stay healthy and still have lots of joy during the work, to actually have a team. I think that's amazing, because I know it from myself. We just kind of doubled our team from last year to this year. We are still a small team, but still we are now 5 people, and that's amazing, because like just like you, I used to have my business, my business alone, and then I joined my partner and created a business, and now we have a team, and that also gives me lots of time and yeah, lots of free time and more access to really working with women as a coach. And I think that's amazing that we have an amazing team that supports us. And where was the point when you decided to go, okay, I need help, I want a team, and I would like to build a company and not just be myself?
Yeah, this is a really great question. And, you know, I'm going to let you know that I really struggled with this decision. Initially, for me, the very first time that I ever got help in my business was when I was still practicing as a solo coach, and I got a virtual assistant. Now, Lisa, I've been in the online business world for 18 years. And so we're talking about a really long time ago. Virtual assistants for people in business, in the online business world now, are really common. Back then, they were not. And so that was a pretty big thing. And I remember feeling quite nervous about spending the money. But it was so wonderful because I don't love admin. I don't love the invoicing and that side of things. It's just not my strong suit, you know. I'm a teacher, I'm a trainer, I'm a coach. That's where my skill set lie. So it was so wonderful to have her do those things. But then years later, when I wasn't doing one-on-one coaching anymore and I was fully focused on training coaches, I actually realised after the very first pilot course of the Beautiful You Coaching Academy, halfway through the next course that I was doing, I had to get help. And I knew that I had to get help because I was suddenly starting to feel a bit anxious about things. I wasn't enjoying it as much, even though I knew I was doing something really wonderful and I wanted to keep going with it. And like so many good coaches should do, I sought out the help of a really good and very experienced creative business coach at the time. And I said, I need to talk to someone about this. I said, I'm not quite sure what to do. And in the end, we came up with a plan that basically was I needed to spend the money to get actually full-time help, not just a few hours a week or a few days a week. I actually needed to go all in, and I needed to get an employee full time. And I was really nervous about doing that. That's 6 years ago now, but it was the best thing that I ever did, because as soon as I found the right person, so much of my time was freed up. She was so brilliant at everything front end and customer service and managing things. And she's still with us. 6 years later, the wonderful Liz on our team, she is still here. She was the right hire at that time. I felt so nervous about suddenly being responsible for someone's full-time salary, but it was worth making the leap before I was ready. So I think that's probably a big tip for everyone. If you keep waiting until you feel fully comfortable in spending the money to get more help in, you might be waiting for a really long time, or you might be waiting forever. It could end up being one of those things where you need to take a bit of a risk and make it happen before you're actually ready. Yeah.
So, so when you decided to actually hire someone, have you been afraid at the beginning when you started hiring out? Maybe in a way, oh, maybe she can't do the job right. Maybe I should do it myself, or maybe in another way, like, oh, I hope I can really pay her.
Look, a little bit of both, Lisa. I will admit, being a somewhat type A personality, aka a little bit of a control freak, which I think many business owners can be when it's your baby. This is your whole creative baby that you have given birth to. And so when you hand over the reins to somebody else to be the very first point of contact that people have when they come in contact with your business, Yeah, that's a really, really big deal. And so there was part of me that was nervous about that. But I'm so glad to say, obviously, 6 years later, with her still being here, she was 100% the right person for the job. And yeah, I was worried. In those initial days, I was actually worried. I was like, okay, are we going to be able to keep this going and continue to pay her? Is this going to be okay? But the thing is that she ended up paying for herself through the work that she did. She allowed me to be able to spend so much more time attracting new trainees into the course, serving them in a really incredible and beautiful way, which then meant that they spoke about us to so many other people. And that has become our biggest referring source, word of mouth. So many people come to us through other people. And so she ended up paying for herself in that job. But yeah, there was some nervous times at the beginning, no doubt. I think that's often par for the course. But yeah, it was a little bit nervy to begin with. Yeah, but it's all settled now.
Yeah, I think it's amazing that Liz is already with you for so long now. And like you said, it's important to know that if you get an employee, that usually they kind of, like you said, they pay for themselves, because you will have so much more time for the stuff you are really good at. And maybe sometimes you also get an employee who helps you with the work you do. So you would have an additional coach, or you would have, let's say, someone in marketing, and then you automatically attract more people. And it's like you maybe double your income, because there's a coach I know, and he's like, yeah, I just wanted a second person of me, kind of. So he would have double the amount of income. So that kind of gave him safety, and also us when we hired our first employee. But on the other hand, luckily, she's a friend of us.
Fantastic. Well, I feel as though, Liz is definitely a friend of mine now, but she was somebody that had undertaken the course, and I knew her and just felt like she was the perfect person for the role. And it turned out that she absolutely was. And so amazing. Yeah.
So you said that you are already in business, in the online business, since 18 years. So how was it when you started? Have you always been working as a coach or priestess?
Well, my priestess work is something that's really only been more prominent in the last few years, in the last 3 to 4 years, but I have been a coach for 18 years and a counsellor for more than 20. And so, yeah, I started my business as a coach online, way back a long time before things like Instagram, and nobody had podcasts or a YouTube channel or anything exciting like you and I are doing right now. It was very much a different frontier and a different look and feel to what it is now. But it was also a really exciting time too, because very few people had heard about coaches. And so while that often meant that a lot of people didn't really understand what I did, and I had to take quite a bit of time explaining that to them, there was also a lot of potential in that for the right people, they were excited about it and they were open to it, and those were the people I think that really came at the forefront of the industry, and often I think went on to train to be coaches themselves, and if they didn't do that, they were very much involved in personal development for themselves, and they worked with coaches at that time and have continued to do so. So yeah, really, it's been really exciting and a wonderful journey and ride.
Wow, that's really already a long time. So you've probably been one of the first coaches, I guess, right?
Well, not. Well, I'm a little bit of a dinosaur. Let's just say that. Coaching as an industry is only a little more than 20 years old. And so as someone that's been in the game for 18 years, I was certainly an early adopter, but not right at the forefront. So I wasn't one of the very, very first, but certainly when we think about the number of coaches that are online these days, very much certainly have been around for a lot longer than many people have. Let's just say that, Lisa.
So when was like the moment, or how did you get into coaching? When did you decide, yes, I really want to be a coach?
Yeah, well, I was actually a counsellor at the time, a youth and family counsellor, and I was working at a community health service. And I was very good friends with the local high school nurse there. She and I developed a really wonderful working relationship. And she came into work one day and she showed me a clipping from the newspaper. This really shows my age because nobody advertises in this way anymore, Lisa. She showed me a clipping from the newspaper and it was about a coaching information night in the city here in Melbourne, Australia, where I live. And she said, I saw this in the paper on the weekend, and the very first person that I thought about was you. She said, I think you would make an amazing life coach. Now, I had never heard of life coaching before, neither had she. And she said, I'm sort of interested too, but she said, why don't we go together? She said, there's wine and cheese. It's free. And I'm like, okay. I said, I'm up for a glass of red wine and a bit of cheese. Let's go. And so along we went, and I knew within 5 minutes it was what I wanted to do. When they started to explain about how coaching was this dynamic and amazing process of working with someone to help them set goals and help them really take their life forward and help them, create the sort of life and legacy that they really wanted to, I was fully there. And Lisa, if you can imagine what it would have been like, I was maybe 25 at the time. No, I would have been 26, 27 at the time, so quite young. This was a very long time ago, and the cost of the course was $3,500.
Wow,
so
that was a lot for then, I guess.
Exactly. I was going to say $3,500 is a lot of money now, let alone nearly 20 years ago. So it was a massive investment, but there was something inside me that just said that it was the right thing for me to do. And so I did, and it was great. There were parts of the training I loved, there were parts that I didn't, but I absolutely loved the process of it and how to work with people in that way. I knew that I'd found something absolutely magical, and I just went on to use it from there and haven't had any regrets since. Just absolutely loved it, every bit of it.
That's amazing. And it's amazing that you already made the decision for yourself to invest, even though for you at the time and still now, it's a lot of money for many people. So I think it's an amazing, amazing decision to do. And so how did you actually deal then with your surrounding? Because coaching was still kind of new, and still nowadays, I remember when I was telling my parents, I'm getting trained as a life coach. They were like, yeah, but isn't it a job? What do you do?
Yeah.
So how did you deal with those people?
Yeah. I did have those people to begin with, but I also still had a full-time job as a social worker. And 18 years ago, and I know we sort of keep casting back then, but I think it's important when we're talking about a journey, is that unlike today in the online business world, where I do see a lot of marketing and a lot of undue pressure on new business owners to basically start something and leave their jobs within 6 weeks, there was absolutely no thought process whatsoever that in training to become a coach all those years ago, that you would then instantly go out and set up a business and be working and doing that full time quickly. That just didn't exist. And so it's, it was a different time then. And I do see it as quite different now. People seem to have a lot faster expectations around things, which I don't necessarily think is always the best idea. But Lisa, I've always been an optimist, and I've always been somebody that has believed that different people are for us, just the same as different people are not for us. And I made a commitment to myself really early on, and it was one of the best things I ever did. And I'd love to pass this on to everybody who's watching or listening to this. And that is that if you tell someone that you're a life coach and they either ridicule you or question you or go, that's not a real job, or that's not a real thing, move on. Don't waste your breath attempting to explain yourself to them. You owe them nothing. And if that's what they're going to be like right at the start, the temptation can be that you just want to explain it to them. It's like, oh no, but it's amazing. It's fantastic. It's all that sort of stuff. Don't waste your breath. Instead, lean towards those people that when you tell them that, they go, oh, that's interesting. Or, oh, that's amazing. Or, I think I might need one of those. Or even, what even is one of those? Like, I don't even really know. At least that person is curious. At least they're open to the conversation about it. Lean towards those people. Serve those people. Stay in the playground with those people and let everybody else go, because they're not worth your time. It just simply means they are not in the right orbit for you. They'll never be your clients. They'll never be your supporters, and therefore they're not worth your time. You're much, much better focusing elsewhere.
Yeah, I also love that you mentioned the pressure that some people put on themselves. So that earlier there was kind of no pressure, and you maybe still had your full-time job, and so you had it as a separate additional income, and you were taking it slow. And I think nowadays so many people see Instagram and Facebook and these amazing photos and the success, and I think that puts a lot of pressure on people. So is there any recommendation you have for those who put themselves on pressure so much and they think, oh, I have like 3 months or 6 months and I need to have it all set up?
Yeah. Well, my very first and most basic recommendation is to just drop that altogether. Just drop a time frame altogether, because there is no such thing as one time frame, or even 2, 3 or 4 or 5 time frames for everyone. How quickly, for want of a better word, you can establish your business is dependent upon a wildly vast different number of factors. It is dependent upon whether you already have a social presence before you start to train. It is dependent upon your confidence level. It is dependent upon your networking and relationship building skills. It is dependent upon how committed you are to the skill and art and craft of coaching and or whatever skill in whatever business you're trying to build. It is dependent upon how much time you devote to it. It's dependent upon whether you have children and whether you are a parent and you have other commitments. It is dependent on whether you work full-time, part-time. There are so many different factors. And this is the thing, Lisa, that twitches my nose a little bit, and not in a kind of cute Samantha way, on Bewitched. When I see things marketed through Facebook ads and other things towards coaches that send out these very, very straightforward sort of enticing pulls saying that you can do this in that period of time. It doesn't take into account people's personal circumstances. It doesn't. And so there is no time frame. So you've got to let it go. You've got to release yourself of that and understand that great businesses that have longevity take time to build. They take time to build. Don't be in a hurry. Don't be in a rush. Do it slowly. Do it carefully. Do it with lots of really great foundations under you, and then you'll build something that lasts.
Yeah, I love that you said that, and also like those programs, put them on pressure. I think it attracts a lot of people who think they can make maybe even quick money, and I think the coaching business is not really about that, because it's about supporting people, and of course you can make nice money with it, but it should be about supporting the people you coach. And I think also it takes quite a lot of time, or at least me, it took quite a lot of time to figure out what niche I actually would like to coach in. So maybe at the beginning you are like, yeah, I'm a coach, and then you try to attract someone and you don't really attract anyone because you don't really have a niche and no one really knows what you are actually coaching. Or it could be the same in, let's say, photography. You are a photographer and you like everything in photography, but you would need to niche down. I think that's also like a really important factor.
Very, very important factor, Lisa. Yeah, very, very important factor. There is no question about that. And these things do take time, and we have to not be in such a rush, really. We have to sort of release that, let it go, and understand truly, as I was saying before, that it takes time to build something really wonderful. It really, really does. It takes time, effort, energy. Slow is good. Slow is good. You know, we're living in such a fast-paced world. I would so much rather encourage people to take things slowly and one step at a time, and then build a business that lasts with them for years and years and years and years, rather than absolutely break themselves in 6 months, get out there with a bang, but then fizzle out when they find out that the foundations just aren't there.
Mm-hmm. And that's also what I love about your program, because you actually take like half a year for the full course, and it's not like a rush or just an online course without any support, because you really have the coaching sessions. You have like twice actually a week, and then like bi-weekly, and then you have the full book and you have lots of support going on. And that's what I really love about your program. So would you actually like to speak more about your program, how it actually works and who it's for? Because I think there are so many listening who are also coaches or who are interested in coaching.
Well, thank you very much for giving me the opportunity to do that. You know, oh gosh, I think you know, Lisa, as one of our coaches and as somebody that I've trained, that I am so deeply passionate about this course. I know that you know that about me. And, you know, over all my years of training and working in this industry, it became a dream of mine around the 10-year mark to really develop a life coaching course that was a great deal more heart-centered than anything that I had ever known there to be out there. That really helped train coaches in a way where they could work with their clients around very heart-centered goals, things that moved beyond simple concepts like making more money or finding a hot husband or, you know, losing weight, you know, but actually really got into the depth and heart of how they wanted to feel every day, living by their values. What was their why? You know, what sort of legacy they were trying to leave, what their life purpose was really all about. And that's very much at the heart of the Beautiful You Life Coaching course, is training coaches to have those deeper level conversations with their clients, so they can really, really go there and really, really have these wonderful conversations, set these amazing goals, support them in really celebratory and incredible ways, and help their clients have the very best experience possible. And it has now been my privilege to train more than 1,500 coaches from all over the world, and they're out there just doing the most amazing work. And I'm just so passionate about it. And for anybody that wants to work with people in a very heart-centered one-on-one way, I think we're a perfect match. Of course, we're not for everybody. We can't be for everybody. But we certainly do attract the most beautiful and wonderful people in the world, I think. And this is really changing the face of the coaching industry. When I trained all those years ago, I was the only woman in my class of more than 20. And that's because coaching has its origins in the corporate world, very much within management and HR. And while that's great for that, it's not necessarily great for young women who are wanting to change careers, or mums who are exploring their spirituality, or, you know, a soulful woman who wants to start a business or anything like that. And they're really the people that I wanted to work with. And so this is the course that really trains coaches to help them become the best coaches that they can be, to work with those sorts of clients. And that means that we attract a 98% women. And so that in and of itself is changing the face of the coaching industry as well.
Cool. Yeah, thank you for sharing. And to all those who would like to really go more into coaching, or who are thinking about becoming a coach, I can really recommend the Beautiful You Academy. And I will for sure put the link in the show notes, because you really need to check it out. And I'm not even sure if there are still spots available for May, because it's always really booked.
Yeah, no, May's gone.
Yeah, so if you're hearing this, you would probably need to wait
October. Yeah, but it'll be here before you know it.
Yeah,
it's already.
I guess I signed up like half a year or a year before, I think, because I really wanted to go in and save the spot.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, our October course for 2020 is already filling up. You know, it is already ready, well on its way. And so that's amazing and exciting. But yes, we do sell out usually months in advance. And so anyone that's interested, it's a good idea to get in pretty quick.
Cool. So like 3 last quick questions I ask everyone. Because I really like to see the difference and to compare and get some amazing insights. So is there any like specific book or course or a podcast you really love, like everyone should read or hear it?
My favorite self-help book of all time is The 4 Agreements by Don Miguel Ruiz. Now, I don't know when this book was written, but it's got to be more than 20 years old. In fact, I think it's probably more than 25 years old now. It's a very simple book, Lisa. It's very small. Someone would be able to read it in a day or a weekend, but it is truly beautiful, and it had a profound impact on me and my mindset. And it really encouraged me to take full responsibility for my own thoughts and my own feelings, and to really treat myself and others with enormous compassion and kindness and respect. Not that I ever felt that I didn't do those things, but this really ramped that up for me. I think it's a profound book, and for me, it's a must read.
Cool. I will put it in the show notes and have a look at it myself.
Yeah, it's beautiful. Yeah, beautiful book.
And is there like a quote or like an inspirational sentence you live by every day?
My favourite quote of all time, and I hope I get it right because it's a little bit long, so sometimes I get it tangled, but my favourite quote of all time is by an American writer and satirist called Irma Bombeck. And she once wrote, that once she got to the end of her life, that she hoped that she would be able to say, I hope that I could say to God that I used everything that you gave me and I have nothing left. So let me just make sure that I get that right. When I get to the end of my life, I want to be able to say to God that I used everything that you gave me and I have nothing left. I love that. I absolutely love that. I think that that just speaks to the heart. It speaks to my heart from the perspective that I don't want to waste a day, let alone a moment. And I really want to make absolutely everything count. I genuinely want to be one of those people that reaches the end of my life, whether that is tomorrow or next week or in 40 years' time. And I can genuinely go, okay, I did okay. I did my best. And so I love that saying by Irma Bombeck. I think it's a great one.
That's amazing. I love that quote. And for the last, if there would be something you could give to people, like to everyone, and you would have like a magical wand, what would it be?
Oh, wow. The first thing that came to mind, I've never been asked this question. I love it. I think it's a great question. I'm going to go with my gut. The first thing that popped into my head was self-belief. So many people, Lisa, just do not believe that they're good enough or worthy or strong enough or capable enough or just enough to be able to follow their dreams and do the things that they really want to do. And what that comes down to for me is self-belief. And so if there was something that I would love to sprinkle over everyone, it's self-belief. In saying that, however, I believe that if it's something that you are struggling with, then you're struggling with it for a reason. And that will mean that you will find your way. It's a path that you have to go on, but that you'll get there. And to not give up and to keep going.
Cool. I love that. That's an amazing finish. And thank you very much for being here and for taking the time for the interview. And I really look forward to publishing it as soon as the podcast launches. And I think many people will really benefit from our episode.
It's a pleasure, Lisa. Thank you so very much for having me on. And I wish you all the very best with the podcast.
Thank you.